All right, everybody, grab your coffee, get jacked up. It's time for another episode of the Block Talk. And local to our block, I have Sam Carrasquillo on the episode this weekend. Did I say that right?
That's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect.
So tell me about you, because I don't think you hail from Little Rock originally.
So I was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I went to school down there and came here when I turned 16. So I've been here.
Straight to Little
Rock? We went from San Juan to Florida, stayed in Florida about probably around 6 months, and then decided that Florida and Puerto Rico were basically the same, minus Disney World. So we were actually going to go back, and my uncle, who had been living here for about 40 years working at a pots and pans place, was in Florida. My dad and him hadn't seen each other in over 40 years. They happened to be in Florida at the same time. They heard about it. They went to coffee, and he says, well, if you want something completely different, come to Arkansas. It's completely different than Puerto Rico. It's completely different than Florida. And so we decided, you know what? Let's do it. Bought a station wagon in Florida and Orlando, and straight up just drove up.
You know, I've never heard a bad story that started with the station wagon.
Yeah, I know. Station wagon stories are the best. They're the best.
Yeah, but that's amazing, because that already starts your story out with something where you're coming to a totally new place.
Oh, yeah,
and you said there was some family history here, but how did you, when you got here, you're high school age, right?
Yep, so I'm high school 17. Age. I couldn't speak English at all, but very, very, very little broken English. And so my uncle, which is older, he'd been here 40 years, so he's in his 70s. More now, but anyway, or no, he was in his 60s, and now he's in his 80s. But so anyway, so we got there and we moved into his garage, which, you know, coming from where we were coming, it was actually an improvement. So we were hanging out in his garage, and it was my mom, my dad, and my 3 brothers, and we were there about 4 months before we could get our own apartment. And so it was really, really, really tough to get going because of the language barrier. Yeah. And so to get over that, my dad suggested that I should go door to door and mow grass. And so I would go door to door to mow grass, and I would literally just knock and tell people, $20 to mow, and I kept going door to door. So it kind of took my fear of door away. So that helped a lot.
Automatic entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
kind
so
of
that's
forced into it.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. So you started with what you knew, and just, I can mow this grass for sure. I know that much. And
I could
can
do
learn.
that. That's right.
So you're working towards the language barrier. So now you're, I'm guessing 17, 18 years old. When do you decide, and do you go to college? Because I think you graduate UA Little Rock, right?
So I was going into ninth grade, but when I went to ninth grade, because we didn't know how to speak English, they wanted to put me in like a 6th grade level class. And so I said, no, just give me the summer and I'll learn enough English to be in the 9th grade level class. So I went I just worked my butt off during the summer, mowing grass to help my parents pay for the apartment, but also to learn the language. And I would read the dictionary. I would do anything and everything I could consume. I would take it just so I could get to August and start at a 9th grade level, which I did and struggled big time. So it was probably the right thing to do to start back, but I just couldn't do that. And so I ended up graduating from North Pulaski High School. By the time 9th grade was done, I knew enough English, and my grades started picking up in 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then I graduated, went to ULR, or UA of Little Rock. UA Little Rock now it's called. But
rebranded,
yeah. And so I did that and graduated with a finance degree and a real estate degree.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it turned out good.
Well, and then for me, and I know we've known each other for a few years now, but when I saw you the other day at one of the things I was speaking at, we were talking about sort of our backstories, and you said, I didn't know that about you.
Exactly.
And I was thinking in my head, I wonder what his background's like.
Yeah, your background story is really cool too, having to move around. And
it's very similar to that.
It's very similar. Coming to a new place just kind of gives you this, you start at the very bottom,
sink or
and
swim.
You can only sink or swim. And so that's the good thing. It's like you make yourself go, and you have your own story. You can tell your own story and go from there. So it's worked out great.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you, because you have a position of leadership in the community that people look to you and they see this story of success. You came here, you put your nose to the grindstone, and you worked.
Yeah.
And you built yourself this amazing company. So, but now you've kind of moved on from that. You have new projects. So tell us, when you first start, you get here, you graduate from college, you finally made it, you go out, you start a company. What were you thinking? Why didn't you just go find a regular job?
Yeah, so I started the company right when I got here, mowing grass, and then that turned into a roofing company. And I didn't know anything about roofing.
Floor to ceiling.
Just literally floor to ceiling, and didn't know anything about it. Just read some books and just went door to door. Just needed to pay bills and help my parents, and so that's just kind of grinded it out. and it just worked out. And then, like you say, you just work and work and work and outwork everyone, and good things happen.
Well, I'm starting to feel good then because my son has started a business. He's 11. He calls himself the lawn hunter.
That's what I'm talking about.
He goes, he does it for $10 a yard. So he's
that's a great deal. That's a great deal.
Well, I haven't told him yet.
Yeah,
you can't buy anything for $10.
That's a good start.
So, but you say all of this, and I'm like, I guess what really surprises me is I work in the real estate industry every day. So I deal with contractors.
Yep.
I deal with them, and there are very good contractors, few and far between, and there are very difficult contractors. How do you set yourself apart in a market like this, in a company like this? And this applies not just to the company you built, but the one you currently are building. How do you tell the difference between a good contractor and a bad one?
So I'll tell you what. So what kind of set us apart was that I kind of figured out early, whenever something would break at home, we would have to fix it ourselves. But then when something would break at a neighbor's house, they would call someone, and so I would have friends, and the plumber would come over and say, okay, that's it. Trip charge is $75, or a roofer will come over and says, okay, no problem, we'll put a new roof on, but you have to give us 50% down. And I just disliked the whole notion of giving money before the work was done. And so the way that we set us apart at SC Home, we wouldn't take any money up front, and so because of that, we had get the trust from the customer right off the bat, because now we're going to do it and we're going to have to do a good job.
It's a scary business
model. So it's a very scary business model because the cash flow is tough, and also you don't know if the customer is going to love it. You don't know if the customer doesn't have the money or spent the money. But we were able to give them trust. They were able to give us trust, and so it grew. I mean, and it grew with the year. So the thing about us and being able to find so many good crews was that I've worked with the guys from day on. So I would get on the roof with them. I would work with them. And so this guy would come in, he's not very good. Let's get him out. Oh, he drank too much the night before. We don't want that. Let's get him out. And so little by little, over the years, we've built amazing crews. And so people ask me all the time, how do you find good crews? I think it's just you find good guys and you work side by side with them. And eventually you develop that rapport, and then you keep growing with them, and they become this great crew for you. And then all of a sudden now you can send them off, and you don't have to babysit them at all. Yeah. So that's the key, is working side by side with the guys that you're hiring.
Teamwork. It's like that's how you built that leadership in there as you're out there on the job.
And they respect you for being up there. That's the thing. A lot of people start a plumbing business and they never get out with their plumbers. Start heating in their business, they never get out there. And so just getting out there and working with them, they love you for that, and they respect you for that for years to come. So
I like that, and now I'm gonna make sure I stay in with all the agents.
Have to be involved. Have to be involved.
Well, and that's the thing. So it's hard to find good ones, though, like we talked about in this area. If you're like a consumer and you, obviously you call SC Home, but since we've moved into a different direction too with your new company, like how can you tell? Do they have licenses? They have to have licenses. Do you think that every contractor has to have a license or they're not a good one? Or
so the license thing is, it's actually a really low entry, because you can take the test. Anybody can take the test.
So it's pretty simple to get a contractor's license.
It's a pretty simple process. I wish it was harder, because that would help a lot.
I have a few thoughts about that in other industries.
But we won't get into that. In real estate, I was actually talking to another guy in real estate, how easy it is to become a real estate agent and how little knowledge they have of construction, and so it's just something that should go side by side. But either way, a long story short is that I think the best way to do it is just based on customer experiences. So now we have Facebook, now we have Google reviews, now we have, so look to those and figure out a friend that has used the carpenter or has used a plumber, and based on their reference, you can. That's how I would go about finding good folks now. Word of mouth.
Since Sam brought it up, he also said I'm the best realtor in Little Rock. So I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Joking, Sam. Getting him in hot water right there. No. But here's the deal. So I want to talk to you about UA Little Rock, and I wanted to talk to you about it since I knew you were going to come on the show, because UA Little Rock is the school in Little Rock that has the opportunity to grow the community.
Sure, absolutely.
Right? Because how else do you build a community besides around a school? You see some of these larger cities like Nashville has Vanderbilt, and also, everybody has their college. How do you, having gone there, what do you think we can do as a community to lift that school up and shine more attention on exactly what a gem it is? So
I love that question. But so that's a big problem. I think a lot of it is just the rhetoric that we use to describe UA Little Rock. So UA Little Rock, there's amazing things happening there every single day, and we don't get to hear about them as a community. So I think UA Little Rock needs to do a better job at letting the community know, but the community needs to do a better job at getting out there and supporting basketball, supporting baseball, supporting all the sports, and supporting the actual university. so just changing the rhetoric, which I think goes back to Little Rock as well. There's amazing things happening in Little Rock, and when you talk to younger people here, they're like, "Oh, I want to move to Dallas, or I move to Nashville, I want to move to Austin." All that stuff's happening right here too.
Yeah, so I got goosebumps on that part, because we have to find a way, and that's where I know you're key to this, because you have leadership in the community, and I'll help too, whatever I can do. But like, this is about, we have got to turn inward before this city.
It's funny that you bring this up, because I was at I'm part of Greater Leadership Little Rock from the chamber, class number 34, so shout out to class 34.
Nice.
But we were together yesterday talking about exactly this, where we need to do a better job at telling the story of Little Rock and how many great things happen here. Because when we go travel, people don't know Little Rock, and then we get in the Uber in DC, and they crack a joke, and we go with the joke instead of saying, no, actually, there's awesome things happening here. So we need to do a better job ourselves of telling Little Rock's story. I think Frank, the mayor, is doing an amazing job at shining the light to Little Rock, and so now we should piggyback on that and help him and help us tell the story of how great Little Rock is, really.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of this podcast and all of that, is to try to find a way to add value to the community so they understand what's available. At UA Little Rock, there's actually an economic development team that you can go to as a small business owner and be like, hey, I don't know how to do this. You don't have to be a student. You have to be a resident of Little Rock with a good idea, and they'll help you with it. Everything from financing a loan to owning the business to creating an LLC. I didn't go to college there, and they're willing to do all of that. I mean, that is community driven.
No, absolutely. And another part, I would mention a program. There's a program called the East Initiative, and Matt Dozier runs that program. He'll kill me on this story, because he told me yesterday that to the class that there was this award deal. I can't remember exactly what it is, but out of 30 companies or 30 MPOs, they were all from California except for one. So they were all Silicon Valley companies, and then there was the East Initiative, which is from here. So that's a story that should grow and should be told, and we need to do a better job of spreading that around. So people are doing great things in Silicon Valley, people are doing great things in Northwest Arkansas, people are doing great things in Central Arkansas. We just got to push that out better.
I met with my CPA yesterday, and he is a big, huge proponent of UA Little Rock and a big fan of Central High School's principal that has a couple programs going on there for students in the top of their class. The seniors there are like the most talented people.
Absolutely, and that's one of the most diverse schools in all of the country. I mean, Central, it's a dominant, and we need to shine a bigger light to that, and not just shine it from where it used to be back in the 1950s, but where it is today.
Bingo! So, it seems like it's always the history that everybody's focused on, and we can't move forward.
Yeah.
We have to move forward, looking into a new future.
That's something we talked about yesterday too. Is a lot of the programs in Little Rock now, if I have something negative to say about Little Rock, is that a lot of the programs are being ran by the same folks that have been running them for years. These folks are now 70, 75 years old, 60, 65 years old, and they're all in our boards, and they're all in our political areas, and they basically run everything. All the real estate is owned by the same group, so so you get to hear all the stories, and it's time for us the young people, to step up and change the guard on those things. And it's also time for those folks to let it go and let us run the city the way we want to run the city going forward. Right,
and to their credit, we have to take the responsibility, like you said.
Absolutely.
That's why it's like an outnumbered thing. You see lower participation levels in our age group. People don't want to come out and take an action and an initiative.
Yeah, a lot of it's on us too, because you're right. I mean, we can run against those
Actually,
folks.
I think you and I are good. It's the ones right below us. It's those 1990s, you millennials.
That's right.
Just kidding. I said a dirty word.
No.
Beep that out.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that gets me, is how do we bring jobs to the city? Because like you said, there are programs now that we have in the city, but as far as programs at UA Little Rock and other areas like schools at Pulaski Tech, we have the culinary, all of these schools around, we do have good programs and good opportunities to grow jobs here in Little Rock. Why don't we have jobs here?
So, I mean, again, it goes back to telling the story. I think we got to do a better job at letting people know that life in Little Rock is actually a great life. Because if you think about it, it's pretty awesome. I live downtown Little Rock, and I've never been mugged. I've never feared for my life. I've never had to worry about any of that. And I live in the smack middle of downtown. I'm always downtown, always doing things here.
Street, so I totally get it.
So there, the whole public safety problem. And sure, we have our issues there, and we're working towards them every day. But it's not as bad as people think. Coming from San Juan, which I hate to to put bad light towards San Juan, but San Juan has a big time criminal issue, and so coming here, I mean, I see it around. I don't think there's any crime here.
Right.
So anyway, so people
from San Bernardino, California, so I'm in the same
right,
number
exactly.
one
You've seen
crime
it.
capital.
That's
yeah.
right. And then you get here, and people are like, "Oh, this is really bad."
I'm like, that guy just said hi to me.
No,
Hi.
it's not. Everybody's super friendly. You just need to get out, get to downtown, get to hang out, and I think everybody will have a good time. But but telling a story, and then I think the government's doing a good job. I think the governor's doing a good job in trying to entice companies from all over the world to come.
Yeah, the gun
here
company was kind of a big deal.
Just come by and take a look. The mayor's doing a great job at coming by and making sure that those companies get to experience Little Rock, and then once they get here, they like it, and they do end up coming. So we just got to get them here, and we can help by telling the story of how much we love it here.
Right. Also, shout out to all of our local chefs and restaurants, because if you could just get these people to eat while they're here, they're definitely not leaving.
Yeah, that's another thing. I hear all the time when people talk about how we don't have a lot of restaurants here in Little Rock, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, we have some of the best restaurants in Little Rock. Yellow Rocket Concept is doing a phenomenal job. I mean, they're doing an amazing job of getting top restaurants here that they've put together. Samantha's does a phenomenal job here. So anyway, so I'm pro Little Rock, pro the restaurants. But yeah, if you live in a city and you go eat at those places, then eventually you run out of places and you want some new ones, and we are getting some new ones. And
even Haybird, the way they did that, they went 3 noodles, they moved over here, and then they went Haybird. It's just, all of it is amazing. We had Hertz Donuts come downtown. We have all these different things, food and beverage. But so all that being said, we know we need to create a job situation, right? But now you're doing something a little bit different. And you're not employing as many people, but you're doing something great for neighborhoods. So tell us about the new adventure.
So I ran Essie Home for a long time, and so I finally.
He's not aging himself.
Yeah, I know. For a long time.
He's still 26.
Yeah, no, I wish. But I was able to exit that successfully, and so now I'm going back to my passion. My passion was residential remodeling, or flipping houses, as it's now called.
The flipping truth comes
out. That's
right.
Because so now, back when I was, I flipped a few houses back whenever I was really young. And loved it, and the return on those were incredible. Now the return, it's not there anymore because everyone and their mom is in the business because of all the shows, all the HGTV stuff that I don't watch. But I'm excited to be back to going to the neighborhoods that I grew up and finding the ugly ducklings and making them good houses where people can move in and improve the neighborhoods that I can be a part of in a small way. But I'm looking at investors to come in and grow and be able to do more and more houses, more and more flips, as you would say. So I'm excited about it. I don't employ as many people directly, I guess, because I don't need to have a huge staff, but I do employ a lot of construction guys, and they're doing a phenomenal job out there. For sure.
And one of the things that I love about this, because it's near and dear to my heart, and this is kind of where the meat of it comes in for my investor base, because a lot of people that listen to this podcast are heavy investors. And so that being said, the word on the street is if you need to buy a house in Little Rock right now, Sam's got it, to flip and remodel it. But the thing is, with investors, they come in usually with a set of goals. And I would say typically they're either going to come in and buy it and hold it and create a rental property, or they're going to come in and flip it. Can you, and I have some insight into this, but want you to kind of express as well. Can you express kind of the danger behind the wrong people doing that?
Oh yeah. So there's two.
Easy one.
Yeah, that's easy. There's two strategies, right? So you can buy and hold and turn into rentals, or you can flip. So that depends on where you're at in your life, right? So in my life right now, I want to flip. I need cash to pay down debt. I need cash to do bigger properties or do more properties. So I'm not in the buy and hold right now. I don't need to have the rental income every day to come in. So I'm actually getting out of my rentals. I will get back to them later on.
We'll unload your portfolio.
Yeah, so I have good equity on them, so I want to get that cash in order to get more flips. But what I see is a lot of guys and couples that will see a show on TV, and all of a sudden they want to do the same thing because it seems cool on TV, and it is cool. I mean, it is cool to buy a house and flip it.
They make it look really easy.
They make it look really, really, really easy. And the part that they don't see is a lot of them, if they put the roof on, they say, oh, the roof only costs $2,500. Well, no, it doesn't. But they only paid $2,500 because the other $7,500 was a sponsor. So the roofer went in there and says, hey, if you let me put the roof on this house and be on TV, I will wipe off the $7,500. You just pay me $2,500, or I'll do it for free.
Yeah. Or I had a hail damage claim.
Right. Exactly. And so you get that, and so all these folks think that those prices relate to what they're doing it when they do it here locally, and it just doesn't. So all these people are buying these houses. It makes it harder for us to find them because they're willing to pay more than we're willing to pay because they think they're going to make all this money. In reality, they turn around and they might lose $10,000 to $12,000. This is what I see all the time: is mom and pop people doing it, or husband and wife. They see the house across the street, so they want to better their community, which I love, and that's good. But then they end up losing $10,000 to $12,000. Or they make $2,000-$3,000, and they spend a lot of times, a lot of arguments, a lot of fights. Just to have a small return.
I hope my husband's listening because you just described our first experience in flipping property.
Yeah, no, I mean, it happens every day. It really does.
Well, and that's the thing. So we do, that's the same thing. So I originally was I would have been a competitor of yours because my company was oh, well, we're going to flip property too.
Yeah.
It took me all of 3 times to realize that I don't want to do it because you have to be 100% centered on flipping property.
Yeah, no.
Like you talk about the prospecting.
Yeah.
I give you every one I got.
Yeah.
But the prospecting is the most difficult part. And if you're in a neighborhood that is appreciating quickly, Kamak Village.
Yeah.
If you're somewhere like that, you need to make sure that you're not trying to gouge somebody with your price either, because as guilty as the homeowners are of going in there and flipping these wrong, the homeowners are also guilty of being hey, you can pay $155 a foot for this when everyone else is selling at $130.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know you want to be in this neighborhood, and that's you're never going to appreciate the right way if you start throwing those kind of numbers out.
No, I agree. I think a lot of people they get into the game thinking that it'll be really easy and they can just find a house in Kamak Village and they can just flip it and make this big return. What ends up happening is, and this is a guy, I'll tell you.
The funny part is when you're talking about this, remember I have one listed in Kamak.
Yeah,
right now.
well, I'll tell you one I did in the Heights that you can appreciate.
Good.
So I did my first flip, and this is going back. I was 17. I sold it when I was 18, about to turn 19. And this is a long time ago, right? So I made a $30,000 return, and that was in Jacksonville. And then I flipped the next one. I made a $17,000 return, and I'm thinking, holy hell, this is great. This is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do the rest of my life.
Done.
And so I decided that my third one, that I had all the experience in the world, that my third one would be in the Heights. And so I go out and I find a way to get a loan, and got a loan and bought a house in the Heights. I won't say that. It was on Stonewall. Everyone can see this house. Trust me, it happens all the time. But anyway, so you go by there all the time. So so I buy this house, and I'm in a great position. I hire a contractor because at that time I don't know enough about construction, and I hired the wrong contractor, thinking that he knew what he was doing. Of course, he had to know. He had a license.
Where everybody's story turns.
Yeah,
because he had a license.
He had a license. So I hired that guy. I won't say his name.
Rewind to previous statement.
Yeah, and exactly. And so he comes in, and so I give him the money to do all the work in the house, and he's putting all these windows, and he's putting all this cabinets and all this stuff, and then an agent. Very prominent agent came in there. He said, "Sam, you did this all wrong. People are not going to buy this house. With these fixtures and with these things on it. This is in the Heights. You're using stuff that works in Jacksonville.
It's a different animal.
Jacksonville, but it's different than the Heights." I was like, what does this guy know? Turns out he knew a lot.
Yeah.
And so I put the house on the market, and I could not sell it. I tried for sale by owner for a long time, couldn't sell it. Then I gave it to him because he was, the number one agent in the area, still is, and was an amazing guy. And and it was really, really hard to sell. We finally got somebody to buy, and we had to paint every room a different color. We had to change a bunch of fixtures. We had to do all this stuff. I ended up losing $135,000, and which almost put me to bankruptcy.
My mouth is going crazy up here. That's more than 4 times what you got on the first 2 flips combined.
Exactly. So it was all through credit cards. It was all. Thank God I had a good banker that helped me kind of put that in a loan, and I could pay it.
The sound guy's I gotta take the headphones off.
It took me years. Took me years to get out of that debt. And you know what? It would have been way, way, way worse if it wasn't for that agent. I want to say his name because it's incredible.
Is it Casey Jones?
It is Casey Jones.
Good job, Casey.
And Casey Jones helped me through that process. And not only that, and Casey I don't know if I can share this part, but Casey waived his entire $40,000 commission to help me out because he said, you didn't make any money. And so why should I make this kind of money? And he waived his entire $40,000 commission. So
legally,
shout out to Casey for helping me out. If not, I would have gone bankrupt 100%.
Yeah. First of all, yes, that's totally fine. And secondly, that makes me so happy, only because I do that all the time when the situation allows.
Yeah.
And it feels like life just always provides you an opportunity to give you something on the other side for what you do. And that's what happened to Casey. He's the number one agent. Nobody can touch him.
Yeah,
He's so far ahead of everybody. I look in the top producer rankings every month, and I'm like, that's Casey again. It's Casey.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why it's Casey. I mean, Casey is an incredible guy. And he changed my life. I mean, if he wouldn't have waived that, I would 100% ended up in bankruptcy. And since then, I've been able to do okay.
And you've
so
paid
I
it
thank
forward.
Casey. And I've paid it forward.
Yeah.
But I should pay it forward more and more to Casey. So I love you, Casey. Thank you so much for doing that.
He also wants to buy a house, Casey, sounds like.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is you basically, and that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast. And I feel like that's the most valuable thing about you as a person is that you always have, since the moment I've met you, you've always given of yourself to others.
Sure.
And I've never seen you in a position where you've just been like, I'm super greedy, I appreciate that because like you were talking about, we can't build a community of people that are trying to get their own.
No, absolutely.
This is about us building something.
Yeah, you gotta help. Once you kind of climb up the ladder, you have to leave the ladder there for others to climb up. And so if you can help them by putting your hand down and pulling them up, then why not do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we can all do well if we just help each other out. So yeah, and there's a testament to the fact that I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for a lot of people that helped me along the way.
Sounds like
even
that
though
story.
it doesn't feel that way as you're going. You feel like you're doing it, you're grinding all yourself, but then something like that happens, like the Casey story. Or there's a lot more stories that I could tell where I could have gone one way and didn't because somebody gave me the right advice at the right time.
We were talking about Brian Husso when you got here.
Yeah.
And
so Brian has helped me tremendously in more ways than he could even know. Just his advice and how accessible he is to people, which he doesn't have to be.
No, that's exactly my experience with him.
And so anyway, so he's given me a ton of advice where I could have gone one way. This is every single day.
Yep.
So shout out to Brian for helping out so much.
Yeah, well, and shout out to Brian for me too, because it's funny. This is where a lot of some of my stuff too. I've been talking with him over the past couple of years, and for somebody that knows so much about Little Rock, he doesn't just share that. He doesn't share that with me or tell me anything about it. But when I ask, he's always there and is always a resource. So there's a lot of guys like that around town that love this city, and you're one of them. And so to our listeners, if you have any interest in flipping property, don't do it. Yeah. Send it to Sam. Let him and his company streamline the process, make it easy and quick for you. And then in addition, if you have insights or ideas about Little Rock, maybe you need an investor, maybe you need to talk to somebody about the city, the history, the future, all those things. Sam is a perfect person to talk to about all of that.
No, I'm always available. People can always reach out to me. I have no problem helping out, and just because folks help me out. And another way is, a lot of people say, well, there's no one's willing to help out, but a lot of the time it's because you're not asking. Mm-hmm. And so just get out and ask. And if you ask enough people, one will say, hey, you know what? You should talk to this guy.
Yes.
And then that's the guy that will help you. And so, so that was my experience with it.
Well, and it's funny too, because at first I thought it was a lot of adversity for you to have come from Puerto Rico and then here and then learn English. And then I found out you tried to flip that property. It seems like your adversity actually hit way after you got to Little Rock.
It got way worse before I got better, for sure. No, it has been a roller coaster ride. And it's part of it, and it'll continue. So I'm going through growing pains now and trying to figure out how to do what I do better. It's always like that. You're always on the grind. We're all going through the same thing. I always tell you people, it's like we're all broke, just in different stages, right? So we're all just trying to hustle and trying to do better, and trying to do better for our family and our friends and all that. So So speaking of, I have a 7-year-old little girl. Her name is Allie. She wanted me to give her a shout out. So Allie, there's your shout out.
I was about to say, isn't Allie Jade something that is like, I don't know if that's
she's absolutely my best friend. The best thing I've ever done, for sure.
She is very beautiful and sweet, and so I'm sure she's proud of her dad. And we are so thankful for you coming on the podcast. But we can't let you get out without the exposition of your favorite song, which we call the What's Your Jam session. When you just I know that's the best part. So at the end, I like to ask all my guests this because it's really fun when you're having a tough day like you talked about and you go through these transitions. Like for me, it might be like Eye of the Tiger, but there's a song that pops up that makes you feel like you got this, right? Oof. So if you had to go to your car and jam right now.
I probably shouldn't share what my favorite song is, but let's just say it's a Tupac song. I'm a big Tupac guy.
I like it.
Yeah. I have that, and I have another song by Nas. So I'm a big
He's
Tupac
a rap
fan.
guy.
Yeah, I'm a rap guy.
Yeah, and old school,
old rap. Yeah, for sure.
It.
So no doubt.
Well, original gangster, that makes sense. It was really super good to see you and to have you on the show, and I appreciate you. And if you guys need to add value to Little Rock and you you need somebody to talk to about how to do that, or you want to get into the flipping process, hit us up.
Yeah,
look on the website. You'll have a link to Sam, and you'll be able to email him from there, and we will put you in touch. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Little Rock Block Talk. We're out.